Peace and blessings. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man.
I'm so grateful
To
that
be
you
here.
could make.
Absolutely, man. It's all part of it, though, right? Like part of the cycle of life, if you will, right? You got to keep moving forward,
Right.
even in our loss.
Right.
We got to find a way.
Right.
And this place helps me do that.
100%.
I was here mourning not too long ago, so yeah, I grew up in the neighborhood. More, I guess, from here it'll be a little bit further north. It's probably like a mile.
Okay.
But it's all in a sense where I ran around at, if you will, in my youth.
Yep.
But yeah, I very much claim the neighborhood, if you will, North Philly, if you will.
Tell us about running around these streets a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
What were you up to?
I mean, I would say you
Without incriminating yourself.
you put me in a corner here. No, it was we made the best of it. Honestly, it's like it is an environment where danger can be, even in the good times. Danger can be around the corner. More so in that time, late '90s, early 2000s, and it was something that I had to navigate in the most peaceful way possible, right? So did we have a good time when we were out here, and like moving about, partying, and just kind of socializing? Yeah. But were we in the midst of danger and harmful environment? Yeah. So do I say it was it wasn't all rainbows, you know what I mean? We had some storms throughout it, right? But, storms lead to the rainbows, vice versa. So it was very much that, if I can encompass my experience, my grown up experience with something like that.
And you're still navigating the storms and the natural phenomenon, but just you're moving differently now, yeah?
Yeah, man, yeah. It's like now as I age and gain a bit more wisdom along the way, we start to learn about the power of the collective, right? And I like to think that I like to think that at times when we're growing up in an environment like this, your best way to get through it is to like take care of yourself. And it's important, right? Because you got to care for yourself before you can care for others.
Right.
But when we realize that the collective is really the true source of it all, right? Where it's like, even if I'm not, in a sense, enough, through the collective, I am empowered, I am recharged, I am, embiggened in some way.
Right.
So that, yeah.
How did you first get involved in collective struggle, in fighting for this land here?
Now the garden, it's for me it was a separate, like another chapter in my life, if you will. But in terms of like the collective, struggle or the community aspect of it was something that for me was as much as I again was out here as an individual, I was seeking it. And I would find it sometimes through whether it was my family, right, or the immediate family, but I would find it outside of that, right, because my family, in a sense, dealt with like the internal stuff, right, the inside the home thing. But when I went outside, I didn't always have my family there, right, and so in some way I had to go out there and find that community, right, that collective, experience, right, and through that, yeah, again, we find. I ended up here because of I moved to a home not like down the street. Like I'm pointing in that direction because it is very much from an eyesight from the garden. But me being that type of person that I was out there already kind of understanding what the power of the collective is, the community, etc. It was pretty easy for one of the other garden members at the time to be standing out there and say, hey, you want to join us? And the rest, in a sense, is the history or the moment that we have here. Right?
What year was that invitation?
Yeah, that was in 2017 is when I got neck deep into it. I had moved around the neighborhood in 2012.
Okay.
Right. So like I had been seeing a little bit of like the activity that was happening here, and I was already curious, right? But I was reconstructing my home or rebuilding my home.
Okay.
And so that was my main focus, right? But when I finished that, I finally came out here, and it was one of those, now I have capacity for this. Now I built my home, let's rebuild this community.
You actually built it with your own hands, or?
I mean, I can lay, some claim to that, but no, it was, it was a shell property. I rehabbed it. But yeah, a lot of the work I did myself, as far as, the construction. And
I know you're an artist too, right?
I am, man. Yeah. But it's it's still, kind of, get to me a little bit, how do you say, I get a little shy about it, man. Okay. To be honest with you, with waving. Well, fair. No, look, see, talk to me about the garden. You get all the confidence in the world. But right now, as an artist, man, I'm still, new to it. And like, granted, I have, art has been a significant part of my life. It's guided me in a lot of ways. But it's now, as an adult, that I'm like fully into it, right? Like I have an art studio, and like I'm making things. I actually sold my first piece not too long ago. So maybe next year you ask me about being an artist, and I'm like, yeah, extra confident about it. But nonetheless, man, yeah, it is. Through the garden, it has helped to in a sense burst open those gates for me, right? A lot of these things that I have had already, intentions on doing. When I'm here, it's like, do it. Right. Get to it and do it. And like, yeah, I very much got it.
Powerful like synthesis between art and revolution, and
it's life changing.
Absolutely, man. Yep. The messages, yeah.
Life changing work. So that started in 2017. Kind of run us through the timeline. So what happened after that?
Yeah. So again, I'm finishing up the project at my house, and now I'm getting involved here, and I'm already in real estate, right? Like so this is part of where like my community and collectivism mentality comes from. I was already investing in my community financially, like not obviously, yeah, I would go out and volunteer whenever I could, but financially I was like, going out to work and bringing money back into the community, and I was doing that through rehabbing, in a sense, abandoned or just uncared for, we'll leave them properties, right? The first property I bought was from a neighbor, and he was. It was just funny because he burst out the one day. I'm like walking out, I'm going to work, and he burst out, like, I'm tired of this. I'm moving. I'm going to sell the house. And I was like, hey, let's talk about it. And that was, that kind of got into that aspect, or that put me into that lane of like, I'm doing it right in the neighborhood or right in the community that I grew up in. It was a house three doors down from where I grew up at.
Wow.
Right? And I still own that property. I've had or had numerous families that have lived in there. Many of them have been able to in a sense go into a permanent home, right? Like where they were able to apply and get financing, etc. And in that kind of way, that was in a sense my strategy for giving back and rebuilding the community. Now enter the garden, right? And it was like a more direct, I'm on the ground, hands in dirt, rebuilding the community in that way as well.
Okay. Did that start to, operating in this traditional like real estate market, that's hyper capitalist, individualistic, private property, all that.
Right.
How did things start to shift as you start digging in the soil and this collectivism?
Yeah. Fortunately for me, man, I was already there. Right. Even with my rentals, I'm always way below market. You know what I mean? Like I know my people. When I say that, I'm saying like I know who my tenants are.
Right.
They're the same people. That first house I just mentioned, I don't think anybody outside of the neighborhood has lived in that house. And I've had it for 15 years now going on.
Okay.
So it's been constantly somebody from the neighborhood like, hey, look, this person from around the corner, this person from the corner, going into that property. So essentially people that grew up in the neighborhood, because of my mindset, were able to stay within the neighborhood.
Okay.
Right? Interestingly enough, man, I'm going through old videos because of the morning that I'm doing, but I'm coming across some of the old videos here, and when you say what was here, the simple answer would be almost nothing, man. We have all these structures here now, and like pathways that we can navigate, but at that time it was a lot of just flat land. I was fortunate enough that I came in a little bit after when they had already cleared out most of the debris that was here. I heard about the tires, the construction debris. There was somehow, I don't know what this place became, but they found bags and bags of like old diapers and like all kinds of like, just like, very specific debris and trash that was accumulating in this space. All that to say that in my time when I walked in, I was helping, clear out the last bit of that, but also now helping to lay out the place, right? And to be able to again start envisioning a functional space, right? Rather than just flat, barren land. There was a little bit of a framing, if you will, for the shed that's not too far from here, but now, it's all functioning,
Who was involved at that time? Was there a lot of other people like you that's from the neighborhood?
Yeah. So there were, let me see, I kind of divided it like in two and two. Like it's just 4 people. There were other people that were more associated with the with Philly Socialists, and they were here in a sense in those like first few days, months, if you will.
Right.
And by the time I came in, the 4 people that were here were 2 community members, which were Cesar and Anthony, and then they were Philly Socialists or not. It was, one individual was Zeph, but he wasn't necessarily directly tied into the Philly Socialists. And then Mara, who was at that time, she was I guess leading the Philly Socialists at that time, and through her, and then again there were other members that came in through that lane, if you will.
So you got a bunch of folks that are from the neighborhood, grew up around here, but then Philly Socialists, I'm assuming some are probably not from this neighborhood, right?
Yeah. No, they're not. Yeah.
They're from all over, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So in that insider-outsider dichotomy, was there ever a tension? How did you navigate that?
I think that have we dealt with tensions through something like that in some forms or another, right? Because different backgrounds, misunderstandings, getting everyone at the same level. Those are, but I think that's part of the group dynamics.
Right.
You can put everybody from the same neighborhood and you still have to get everyone at the same level.
Yeah.
But to better understand, for me, the thing that simplified that was the common, in a sense, mission, goal, struggle of protecting the land. Everyone that was here from the beginning had that clear, or it was, in a sense, that direct strategy or intent to make sure that this land was secured for the community. And that's what made it easy. For me, I could have come in here and thinking like, these people are going to try and profiteer off of this stuff, blah, blah.
Right.
But I was proven wrong, if that's, if that's the proper term for it, right? But I was constantly validated in what these people were doing in terms of like, how do I put it? Their intentions, right? What their mission was, right? So in that kind of way, that collective, in a sense, mission, right? Or like that directive that it was almost unspoken, right? Like we knew what we were here for, right? We were trying to take care of the land, but it wasn't something that like, we all, wrote on a piece of paper, on a contract, like you're here to protect the land. It was, it was spoken amongst us, but it was also, in a sense, reinforced by our actions.
Just through the language of the heart, corazón, like there's a communication going on.
Yeah.
Right? That we're in it for the same reason.
Absolutely, man.
Sign no contract or
no, man. And the thing is that, like, that whole, like, people from the outside thing could have easily been something that derailed us, because we wouldn't, somebody that is from the community probably wouldn't understand their intentions. But again, the intentions were clear. Right. So somebody from, like, I'm speaking for myself, and I told this, I spoke to all the folks here, all the members, where I would tell them things like, the only reason I'm here and I'm involved in this garden is because I saw you. Right? You were consistent. Right? And so those same like 4 people, 5 people, 6 people that were in the beginning, were all consistent. Yeah. And it was one of these things of like me understanding that consistency works and can work in both, in the positive and the negative. If you're consistently positive, then you will have you'll bear great fruit, right? But if you're consistently negative, you will destroy it. And I grew up in the era of consistent destruction from the city, right? Being disregarded as a community, as a neighborhood, right? I come into this place and I'm seeing consistent growth, development, right? Or people, community building, if you will, right? And it's like, this is what we've been needing here. This is what I've been seeking, they've been seeking, right? Community members, right? Someone that can, a place right now at the Iglesia's Garden that can in a sense be an example of that consistency. Or that positive consistency.
I've consistently felt that anytime I've walked into this space, I can feel like a welcoming thing to both the land and the people that are working the land, like this embrace that's happening. But I have to constantly like navigate my own relationship to this land. I recognize that I'm a newcomer, you know what I mean? I've only lived in Philly for 7 years, and that this isn't even really Philly. I mean, like, who was here before?
Right.
You know, this is Lenape lands right here.
Lenape land,
So I see myself as a steward of this land and committed in the long term towards protecting and defending this land. Instead of being extractionary and just profiteering off of making some film, you know?
That's it,
But I have to constantly reevaluate that, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you sharing that. What is land to you, right? What is this?
I mean, in you know, just like in the most basic form, it's something I can grow on, right? I mean, I can grow a plant, but myself as an individual, my son can grow on, right? So in that kind of way, land is, you know, nurturing and how do you say, an ecosystem of like, you know, of bearing fruit, right? Of like to bear fruit through, right? Now, when we look at it from what we're facing, right, or what we're in a sense dealing with in terms of like going up against City Hall, if you will, all these other like housing agencies, land development agencies, developers altogether, then we have to start looking at it in a more like how do you say abstract way, or more of like you know, just monetary way, right? Like where it's like, you know, they're not looking at it in the same way that I'm thinking of, right? If my son is the seed and I'm growing and nurturing that plant in this land, they're not looking at that. They're looking at my son as something that has to be uprooted, right? Right. And so in that kind of way, you know, it was something, or those were in a sense the greater tensions or struggles that we had here to better understand what it was that we were confronting. We went to them with passion and like community, etc., and they responded with, where's our tax, you know, our tax revenues? Where, you know, how are we gonna in a sense monetize this, or how are we gonna profit from this, etc. And so that you get lost, right? There's things lost in translation, as they say, that in a conversation like that. Right?
Tell us about those confrontations, like city council meetings. Who was showing up? What were you saying?
All the, you know, I guess, you know, the usual cast of characters, right? Like these people, there's people that are on every board of every land development agency. There, one person is like on one of the, and it happens for like 3-4 people, and they're all in the same boards. So all that to say is that the mindset follows across all of these agencies, right? There's nothing, you know, there's nothing different, but they're all, you know, different titles, different things that they do or whatever supposedly, but they all have the same mindset, right? And so in that kind of way, yeah, you know, we have to learn how to speak their language, right? And how to get to them. For example, and this one is still, you know, I like to think I shut them down. You know, I had a good response to this one. But this guy one time at one of these, what was it? Damn, y'all can edit stuff like this out, right? Yeah. I'm trying to recall these agencies, man. But what is the land bank? Yeah. We were at a land bank hearing meeting, you know, and we're like, you know, asking about our land and, you know, getting our you know, our paperwork signed off on, etc. And this, you know, one developer dude comes up and he says something along the lines. He starts to get into like this economics market, not economics and what is it? But whatever. He starts to get into the economics of it, right? And he goes, imagine, and I don't want to say the name because I don't want cookies. He named a specific brand. He said, imagine you're at the market and instead of being able to just grab the cookies that you want, they take them away from you. Now, cookies to him was land. right? And he said, and you know, I'm listening to this 'cause I have to interpret, right? I have to translate what he's saying, right? And he's like, and imagine they kept them away from you. What would that happen to prices then, right? Wouldn't prices go up? This, that, and the third. And so I get up and I say to him, I was like, you know something? That was almost a great example. But guess what? Unlike cookies, land cannot be mass produced. So your mindset about how we're using this land, we're not having the same conversation anymore, right? The way you're thinking of this is purely monetary.
Yeah, it's not just this thing to be bought and sold to be consumed. He's using this consumerist sort of mindset.
Right. And that was something that here amongst us we had to find ways to like learn. We came our language was compassion for the land, for the history, the community, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Theirs was, well, they have their own version of compassion, if you will, but it was for monetary gain and
they don't want to constrain supply or be available, you know,
that, like, the stock, you know, and etc.
Price, you know,
all this, yeah. And so, and I've had other, city council hearings where I've, mentioned things like that, where it's like, it's about the mindset, right? Where, to me, this is wealth, right? We rich, man. You know, this is abundance right here. But again, a developer look at this and it says this is unused or it's not properly, unimproved land, or it's like you can do better, right? We can extract more wealth out of it, or whatever they perceive as wealth.
Right. You know? It's really the mindset of the conquistador.
There it is.
Whether Puerto Rico or in Ecuador.
Anywhere, Central America, anywhere down there. Yep.
My family's from Bangladesh, British.
Look at that.
Same shit.
Yeah, same thing. Colonizing was a thing, right? And in some ways still is, right?
100%.
Right.
How is this? Oh, before I get, what are some of the most memorable moments? You're running from 2017 to today. What are some real big highlights in the fight?
I'll be genuine and say that, like, I'm grateful that folks like y'all and like other media people have come by and found us through like the big things that we've done, right? Like the time where we in a sense protested in front of the sheriff's office and kind of shut that down. We shut down a land bank hearing meeting. We flooded with like 50, 60 neighbors. It was a thing of like, those things are great, they're amazing. For me though, is everything that took to get to that point. Everything we built up, all those small moments, that build up to that, for each of us to have that level of in a sense, trust and confidence in each other, that they, we all know we're going to ride for each other, right? Right? In front of the sheriff's office, in front of the mayor's, whoever, we got each other's backs. And for me, it's everything that it took to get to that point, to building up that trust, and that relationship with each other. So the little moments, man, the late night meetings we've had here, we just recently had something called, were you here for the big table?
Yes.
There you go. Those moments like that, man. Those don't necessarily get a bunch of press, right? Like but the community knows about them, and they go off into the neighborhood talking about it, right? So those are the moments that are special to me.
How is this fight connected to struggles across the city, like FDR Park?
Yeah.
Chinatown.
Yeah. I it's interesting, man, because like we're this relatively small patch compared to some of these other, we're gonna call them moments, FDR Park was a big deal, like they were terraforming down there, right? Like there's, to say the least, Chinatown, that's whole communities that were about to be disrupted, and here we are, in a sense, being supporters and also like some sort of like, I felt not to speak too highly of the garden, right? But I have to, right? Because it's Iglesia's garden, But we've been a sort of like a beacon in some way, right? To like the land struggle here, in this time that we've been doing our work here. And so when Chinatown reached out, and when FDR Park reached out, we were there as much as we could be, right? So how do they relate, man? It's all the same to us, brother. You know what I mean? It's like it's the preservation of community land, man. Land sovereignty, things of that nature.
One fight.
Right.
How do you foresee the future of this fight? What's next?
Here in the garden, in some ways, man, because there's definitely more to do, right? But in some ways, at the garden, things are a bit more stable here, right? We've been able to secure some of that. Our struggles have bear results, fruits, right? You know, now we have directly purchased some of the land, but now through the city, soon we'll have that finalized as well, right? So as far as the gardens work, we're here now, in a sense, bearing our fruit, right? Harvesting everything. We have our vegetable patch over there. We have, you know, our fruit trees and whatnot all around. So yeah, so in that kind of way, as far as the garden, we get to finally enjoy the more of the community aspect of it, right? Granted, we've been hosting events throughout it, you know, but it was always one of those like, this could be the last event, and now we have some permanence. Right. Now we have that bit of, you know, sense of security. But as I said, it continues, right? So now we take this on to the rest of the city, rest of the world, if you will, where our journey or our story can be a model for the progress that another collective can experience.
Right. You know? Do you tell us about that a little?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's very much, you know, the outreach, right? The getting connected with the community, right? And so this is where folks like you, right? Like you still consider yourself an outsider, if you will, right? Where it's like you come in and you become part of the community now, because now you knocked on, you know, Abuela's door, right? Now you knocked on, you know, Theo Jose's door, you know, and so on. And it's one of those like, yeah, I met that guy. And there's some people in the neighborhood that know some of the other garden members, and I'm still getting to know them, right? But I can't consider that person from the outside. Now you're part of the neighborhood. Now you walking down the street, somebody you're gonna recognize. You know, you're gonna get the salute, right? So in that kind of way, to me, you're very much part of it, right? At that point. And so in that kind of way, yeah, we encourage everyone that comes here, you know, to you know, get out there, get in the mix, man. You know, get out there with the community, you know, and grow those connections, right? Grow the community. Developing that same level of trust that we already have here. You know, people in the community have been, you know, they've been fooled one too many times, right? Too many false hopes, right? So that part was a challenge for us. But eventually, yeah, you know, they saw us. Right? In the same way that I saw the people that were here in the beginning, they saw us, and we've been able to turn that around a bit. Some time was also a struggle for us, right? Because we started in 2012, but ideally we wish we would have started in the year 2000, or, you know, even before that, right? Where like we would have been able, you know, had a more, in a sense, more of like a not a head start, but a better start, right? Because I remember, you know, knocking, and some of the neighbors were like, where were you 5 years ago? I just lost this lot, you know, you know, this, that, and the third. So those were, you know, some of the struggles that we were dealing with.
What were some of the biggest successes here or across Philadelphia, really?
That, in a sense, winning the community over, right? Now they know what we're about, right? Yeah. So they see us show up with our not for sales, you know, or you know, Iglesias talking, you know, they're like, those are the ones that protect land, you know? And to have that, you know, as a way of being recognized, man, our reputation is a beautiful thing, man.
How are we going to keep winning? How are we going to keep bolstering the reputation and keeping the wins coming, growing more?
This, brother, the you know what I mean? Like the I don't want to directly call it publicity, but, you know, like the media attention, getting the story out there, you know, getting more eyes on these things, right? Too many people feel like there's no solution to something like this, so they just kind of throw up their hands, you know. And the reality to that is that there is some truth to that. An individual has, you know, I'm making up numbers here, but has 10 times the struggle that a collective would. Right? I could go to the meeting and use my loudest voice, but I'm just one man yelling, right? Now I could go to a meeting with 100 people and use a moderate voice.
Speak with one voice.
One voice, yeah. And now I got, you know, a couple other voices that'll yell for me if I needed to, right? So that very much is you know, like a unifying force, if you will, to all of this, right? To find ways to keep the community and grow the community and expand it in that direction, right? Of like securing the land, of informing people that you can, right? That you can do something, right?
We want to keep this thing growing. As we start to wrap up here, any last words you want to share?
I want to say something towards like what, you know, what these communities have experienced and what they're experiencing now. We were growing up, you know, and seeing everything, for what it was. Helped me to start thinking of what it could be, you know, as an individual. And when I realized that as an individual, that task is almost insurmountable, right? Where like I'm going up against the city, you know. I think of like how a whole community was essentially abandoned, right? Disregarded in some way. These communities were already here. You know? The neighborhood I came from, they refer to it as the Badlands.
Right.
It was earned how, why, right? You know, and it's something that as again as an individual I question, right? Like why were they calling this neighborhood that? How did it get to the point that this neighborhood was being referred to as that, right? And you realize when you get into it is, you know, disinvestments, right? Extraction, etc., right? And so now that we're at the other side of it, where it's like all of a sudden these communities exist, and I'm talking to the city now, right? Because to us, the people in the community, we've been here, right? We've been walking these streets. I mean, some of these areas haven't had sidewalks in 20 years, right? So we've been here to see all of that, right? But now we're on the other side of it, where now we're getting these sidewalks, right? Now we're getting the so-called investments, but for who? Yeah, for why? For who, right? So now, is it possible that they'll come out and start calling a certain neighborhood the good lands? But why? Why are you gonna? You know what I mean? It was good before. We were just being disregarded, right? And so, in that kind of way, I would like to just kind of bring to the forefront that our reality is not created by just the individual in the community. There are outside forces that impact us as well, that we're struggling against. Right? So anytime anyone has something to judge a person from that direct community, just remember that person was, in a sense, they've been disenfranchised, they've been disinvested in, they've been disregarded, right? And now as we move into this supposed new era of like revitalization and etc., those are the same people that are going to get pushed out.
Right. That's
all right.
Part of the conundrum.
All right.
Okay.
But here we are creating permanence as the little garden that could, if you will, and we ain't going nowhere, man. You know, and it's to essentially our existence here. Existence is resistance, right? And so in that kind of way, man, we resist the supposed new developments, if you will, right? And not so much that we're anti-development, because obviously, yes, we want new things, or a revitalized community. We're not Luddites in that way. We're pushing back in that kind of way, right?
Right.
But we are very much, in a sense, raising our voices to say that we're here and we would like to design our community. We would like to create our communities in the way that we envision them, in the way that we wanted to create them.
Access, sovereignty, all that.
Sovereignty, yep. That's it, brother.
Appreciate you. The working title of our film is Vanishing Roots, and your story exemplifies how you're actually deepening the roots and fighting
absolutely,
the roots to multiply.
That's it, man.
Relationally and all that. So we deeply, deeply appreciate you and your time here.
Yeah, man. I'm grateful, man. Grateful that y'all took the time, right?
Right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
All right.